Content marketing shouldn't be difficult, yet it is for so many businesses. That is why I've got a special guest with me today who is a content marketing expert. We are going to dig into all things content marketing, what it is, how it can drive growth, tips for you for implementing it in 2023, how to measure ROI, so much more. You do not want to miss this. Hi, I am Tim Fitzpatrick with Rialto Marketing, where we believe you must remove your revenue roadblocks if you want to accelerate revenue growth. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to tune in. I am really excited to have with me Michael Brenner from Marketing Insider Group. Michael, welcome, and thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tim. Great to be here.
Yes, I'm excited to dig into this. There's, content marketing certainly isn't anything new, but man, it's still something that a lot of people are overlooking. Mm-hmm. So I am excited to talk about this. Before we do that, want to learn a little bit more about you. I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions. Are you ready to rock?
I'm ready.
Okay. When you're not working, how do you like to spend your time?
Well, I've got 4 kids, so I'm mostly chasing them to sporting events and practices.
Okay. How old?
19 down to 11.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. I can imagine they keep you busy.
Yeah, for sure. But it's fun.
What's your hidden talent?
A black belt in jiu-jitsu. No, actually, I think my hidden talent literally is hiding, looking calm in the face of stress. I think people think I'm a pretty calm guy, but I'm actually quite, bothered under the surface.
Are you really a black belt in jiu-jitsu?
No.
Okay. That would have been a cool hidden talent too.
It
would. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Let's see. So my dad's best piece of advice to me growing up was always, he had this thing on the refrigerator. It was one word: quit your belly aching. Basically, stop complaining. So that's always my go-to. But professionally, I remember when I was in college, the mentor of mine said, 90% of life is just showing up, which I thought was pretty, cynical at the time. But, I think in our professional lives, you find a lot of people that aren't really checked in and are pretty checked out. And I think, I do think that's pretty good advice. It's just show up.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the only thing I would add to that is show up consistently, right? There are people that start to show up and then they stop. And yeah, so if we can just show up and do it consistently, man, you're ahead of so many people.
Yep.
What's one thing about you that surprises people?
Let's see. I feel like it's kind of my hidden talent, but I do like to do yoga. That's something that people are always like, really? That's interesting.
Cool. Hey, I like it.
Yeah, I'll go with that one.
Mindfulness. I will tell you, as my younger self totally overlooked mindfulness and anything associated with it. But the older I get, the more I gravitate to it. So I think there's a lot to be gained from it. Yeah. What does success mean to you?
Gosh, I think just being respected, in having a conversation with you in this situation is success for me. Just meeting people, being with people, being able to share, guidance and advice in the industry, giving back a little bit at this stage of my life. That's really success for me.
Where's your happy place?
Ooh, beach with my kids.
Any beach in particular?
Yeah, we have a little shack in a place called Avalon, New Jersey, which is an awesome little getaway for us. We get down there I get to work down there for about 6 weeks every summer. So it's a lot of fun.
Good for you. Mm-hmm. What qualities do you value in the people you spend time with?
I think honesty, humor, sense of humor, kind of standard things. But I will say this, I'm sort of like borderline introvert extrovert. So I always really appreciate there's always that one guy or gal who can lead the conversation when you're in a group. I always appreciate that person, so I don't have to do it.
Yeah, it's so interesting how many people I talk to that are geared towards being introverts, and most people who see them would not think that's the case. We just work hard at pushing through it.
That's right. That's right.
So before we talk content marketing, tell me a little bit more about, what you're doing at Marketing Insider Group. What types of businesses you're working with?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're like 80, 90% B2B SaaS companies, a lot of technology startups. We have some large technology companies. We have a couple e-commerce companies as well, but like 80, 90% of our client base is, B2B SaaS companies that don't quite have a marketing department yet. They have product market fit. They maybe hired a couple salespeople. They have a nice new website, but they don't have any content to fill it. They don't have any traffic coming to it. So we can kind of help them. We pivoted a couple times. When I left the corporate world, about 10 years ago, I started doing strategy and speaking, and but a lot of my strategy clients were like, we appreciate the strategy, but we really need good content. And so basically, just kind of came up with, I like you believe in consistency, showing up consistently, and that's really what we do is we help brands consistently show up on the web with quality content.
And is from a content standpoint, do you specialize in any particular type of content, or are you getting involved in, articles, videos, podcasting? Where do you sit in that realm of content?
Yeah, we're not a content agency. We are really specifically, I like to say we're a content marketing agency, but what that means is it's kind of a full package service. So we do keyword research, headline development, we propose that to the client, and upon approval, we write once or twice a week. And then we measure using SEMrush or Ahrefs, and we basically say, hey, we did a keyword strategy, we're writing content, and we're measuring the result. So essentially our deliverable is traffic and leads, relevant traffic that hopefully converts to leads. But so in the end, it's all articles is all that we do. We don't do videos, infographics, that kind of stuff.
Got it. So what you're saying is blog writing still works.
I mean, if you think about, I don't know if we want to get into Google and SEO and helpful content update. The helpful content update basically said, if you have thin content pages, if you only promote on your website what you sell, we're going to delist you from the rankings. If you provide helpful content in the form of blog articles, those are the clients, the companies, websites that win. And so, once the technical aspect of SEO is covered, which is now fundamental, foundational for any website, it's just content. And so we fill that need. 90% of our clients all saw increases after the helpful content update in August. And the ones that didn't just had really bad websites. And so that's another thing that needs to get fixed. But, so I think content still works. Content will always work. It's like I always love to say that if you think of marketing as a Venn diagram, the one circle is the shit that the crap, sorry, excuse me.
Yeah, it's all good.
The crap that we all create that no one cares about. And on the other circle is the stuff people actually want. Yeah. And so content marketing is the overlap. It's the stuff that, it's like, it's the expertise that a company has that actually answers a question that a customer actually has. And so that will always work. It's what marketing is.
Yeah. So I want to take a step back. We started digging into content. How do you define content marketing?
Yeah, it's actually a good segue because I have a different definition than I think a lot of people in the industry. And because a lot of people confuse, and I like to say, a lot of people confuse marketing with content and content marketing. Especially I find like in the UK for some reason, and some countries and brands in Europe, they think that content marketing is just another name for content, and creating a white paper, doing an ad, it's content marketing. For me, content marketing is strategically publishing consistent content that maps to buyer interests. So it's CNN and Fox News publish articles every day about the political world. Well, brands need to do the same, and it needs to be not what you want to say, but what your audience is actually interested in. And then I kind of finish that with, and the brands that do content marketing, they can point to a measurable result. So like, what's the ROI of an ebook or an infographic? Probably not a lot, if any, but you can point to your website that publishes consistent content, focused on customer needs, and you can show the pathway to conversions and revenue.
Yeah. Okay. I want you to say that one more time. The definition, because I think this is easy for people to miss. You talked about strategically publishing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll boil it down.
Yeah.
Consistently publishing customer focused content
Yeah.
on your website and measuring results to ROI.
Yeah. I love it. Because there are so many people out there creating content that they're not they're not measuring the ROI from it. Some of them like just don't have any idea how to even begin to
Mhm.
measure the ROI.
Yeah.
Um, and I love how you talk about being strategic about it. Um, you're going into it with open eyes. You've got a plan of what you're going to do and why you're actually doing it.
Mhm.
We're not
Yeah.
just throwing spaghetti up against a wall hoping that it's going to stick.
No, and you know, I think it's also important to think about it as a counterpoint to the campaign mentality, which, you know, like a lot of our clients will say, why are you going to do an annual content plan for me? The world's going to change in 3 months. And what's really interesting is the world really doesn't change every 3 months. Like, you know, the gaps that you have on your website today relative to your competition on SEO and search and keywords and volume of traffic are probably the same today as they will be in 12 months. And so, you know, just because Chat GPT was launched or, you know, China launches a weather balloon, like those things are not going to change the keyword gaps on your website.
Yeah. So this leads into my next question, which is about um, content marketing and how it drives growth. You know, you obviously may think a little bit differently about this than others, but can you break that down a little bit? Because you guys are really you're you're doing the keyword research, determining what types of articles you need to create, and then you're actually creating it. But I'm assuming that because you guys are doing the SEO research up front, that's that's what's driving the growth long term.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it's you know, you're build content marketing helps to build a foundation to help to help two different audiences understand what you care about, and those two different audiences are important. One is the actual audience you're selling to. How do they find you? Well, they find you because someone else told them to go find you, because you're known in the industry as an expert. Or the second audience is Google. Google tells you to go there because you
Yeah.
rank for that, you know, for that topic. And
Yeah.
the only way to do that is through consistent publishing. And so content marketing drives growth because you're building awareness, but not in the classic branding, you know, marketing, traditional marketing sense. You're building awareness by helping people consistently. Back to the helpful content update, you know,
Yeah.
websites that publish good content are going to start to, you know, earn the rankings and the traffic and the authority and the awareness that comes from that. And you know, the other thing I love to say is people are searching for questions in Google or with their peers every single day.
Yeah.
And so every day you don't publish is a day that you're missing out on an opportunity to answer those questions and earn the trust of your audience that could potentially buy from you. And you know, it's like salespeople don't, you know, they don't think of themselves as selling on Mondays and Tuesdays and, you know, golfing on Thursdays and Fridays. Like those days are over. Salespeople sell all the time.
Yeah.
Marketers need to create helpful content all the time.
So on when with the blog articles you guys are creating specifically, you're answering specific questions, but my guess is focus more on longer tail or longer search terms for very specific questions. Um, what are you doing on the site itself to try and capture leads? I mean, do you have consistent calls to action throughout articles in sidebars? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we actually just published an article Monday on website redesign mistakes to avoid. You know, we had one of our best case studies last year, is a company that they did stick with us through some pretty tough economic times on their side. But 3-4 months in, they were like, "Hey, we're getting all this great traffic, all this great SEO results, but it's not converting. You know, what's wrong with your program?" And I'm like, you know, dude, look at your website. Like, you're the only B2B software company I've ever seen that doesn't have click here to get a demo on their website. And you know, so there was zero calls to action or pathways to conversion, as I like to call them.
Yeah.
Um, and so, you know, one of the biggest web redesign mistakes I see, for example, is a single column article format. Designers love it because it's clean, and readers like it, I think, maybe. But websites that have a second column that says subscribe here, click to download our template for
Yeah.
whatever, click here to read one of our most popular articles, which are all things that you'll find on my website. They all generate next actions, and that's what
Yeah.
websites are designed to do. So, I always recommend the number one web redesign mistake is form over function. And that means, double column blog article page where 90% of most traffic goes to on most websites. A secondary color call to action, like get a demo or
Yeah.
talk to a salesperson in the main navigation. Offers embedded in your content. Like you'll see
Yes.
on my website, we've got offers like every 4 lines, like download this ebook, check out a case study. Like they're not, we're not trying to be annoying, but we're just giving people an opportunity to off ramp to something that's going to be valuable. And so those are some simple things that folks just miss because they're, I don't know if they're lazy or they're paying attention to designers who are, really good at convincing them of beautiful websites that, that don't perform the function a website is supposed to perform.
Yeah. I also think too that this goes back to the strategy and understanding why you're doing something, right? And having a 10,000 foot view of like, what does this path look like, right? And if you come at it from that side of it, like, you don't want somebody just to read the article, you want them to take another step, right? And so if we don't tell them what that next step is, they're just going to leave, right? And so I think a
Mhm.
lot of people just overlook the strategic and the planning side of it, uh, at the expense of just taking the action. Well, we're publishing blog posts. That's what we need to do.
Yeah.
So thank you for touching on that, because
Mhm.
I love that. So we might as well dig into ROI here as while we're talking about this. Because you touched on this, but what are some of the things that you guys are doing to measure ROI with content?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're looking at pipeline generated from blog articles, which basically comes in the form of someone reads an article, they click on an offer is really what it comes down to. We've got webinar recordings, ebooks, white papers. That's probably the easiest path. Second would be contact us, which doesn't happen as often as I'd like. It's like 0.01% of all traffic clicks on that
Yeah.
button. But a good 50% of those people convert to clients for us. And we very clearly in the contact us form state, do you have, what budget do you have? And I list my 2 price points or 3
Yeah.
price points. And then the third, and this is my favorite because it's just so easy, is we nurture email subscribers, which email doesn't deliver for us what it used to, just like social. But the subscribers that we get, we nurture in a 9-part nurture email series that it kind of goes back and forth between helpful and subtly promotional.
Yeah.
A good 50% of our leads come from that nurture series, which, if we get 10, 20 subscribers a week, and then, I really get probably 1 lead a week, from that nurture series. It's somebody that read an article maybe 6 months ago
Yeah.
and wasn't ready, but now they are, or they get a new CMO or whatever. So, those are the main ones. Obviously, contact us, the lead, direct lead capture, and then the nurture over time.
So are you tracking? I want to break this down because I think it's important for people to understand this. Are you guys using Google Analytics or another tool to track those conversions from the site and the blog content?
Yeah, it's just pure Google Analytics.
Yeah.
So we have events set up for each of those actions. Email subscribe, contact us, all of the lead forms. We also have a fourth. I have like a Calendly integration, so people can book a slot with me. So
Mhm.
that those are the 4 events that we track in our Google Analytics. We use goal tracking and some value generation estimates, so I can see
Yeah.
sort of short term what the value of those conversions are, and then obviously we track and measure those leads over time to see if they actually convert to ROI.
Do you, in your email marketing, are they, when people subscribe, when they've come through a blog post, are they tagged in that way? So do you know in your email marketing where they came in?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
You do. So you
Yeah.
know that they came in through blog or some other channel.
Yeah, so we've got people in the conversion rate optimization world that are called funnels. So we've
Yeah.
got a couple of funnels set up. We've got the email subscriber funnel, which is the 9-step nurture series, and then if you download an ebook or watch a webinar, you get a different series of a shorter, like maybe three nurtures. Like I think if you download the webinar recording or you register for the webinar recording, the second step is you get the ebook. The third, I think, is you get a free PDF of my book, and then the fourth is hey, buy some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from a blog standpoint, the best way to track ROI is using Google Analytics, setting up events, goal conversions. As you touched on, you can assign dollar amounts to that.
Mm-hmm.
Based on whatever it is that they opted into. And that at least starts to give you an idea of how much your content is actually starting to generate for you.
Yeah, exactly. And we have clients that use HubSpot, clients that use Adobe Experience or Adobe Analytics, and other applications that can measure all of those things. And we always ask the question at the end of the first year, well, we ask up front, how are you measuring ROI? And then at the end, we always ask, can you share with us some of the metrics? And it's really cool. Our HubSpot clients always have a pretty clear picture. Adobe clients have a pretty clear picture. Google, you have to kind of take, Google's, for us smaller, I think firms is easier to, you still have to make the leap from the analytics to your CRM platform. But whatever tools you're using, make sure you're measuring those events that, kick off a conversion.
Yeah. It's the only way you're ever going to know.
Exactly.
Which I actually think, okay, so I hope I'm not going down a rabbit hole here, but I think that's also another reason why it's so important to have the main content that you're creating housed on your website. If it's somewhere else that you don't control, it becomes a lot more difficult to measure it. Do you agree with that? Do you think differently about that?
No, that's why I mentioned, I usually say on a destination you own or a platform you own. In my definition, I said on your website.
Yeah.
For most companies, it is your website. But yeah, a YouTube video has no value because it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
And so I actually wrote an article about how to embed your YouTube videos, unlist them on YouTube, embed them into articles and create articles on your website. And link to the article from the unlisted video on YouTube. And there's nothing wrong with people that have huge social followings,
Yeah.
huge YouTube subscribers. Don't even get me started on TikTok. But
Yeah.
but the point is, as my friend Joe Polizzi always said, that's rented land.
Yes.
And I was around back when people thought Facebook was the next coming of marketing success, and then Facebook decided to change their algorithm, and people went from like 100% exposure to the followers and fans that liked their brand page to less than 1%. And like, imagine if you built your whole marketing strategy around Facebook, and then 100% of your fans would see your content, and the next day less than 1% of your fans would see them. That's what you can control on any of those social platforms. Instagram and TikTok are platforms that people can use to, I think, present some cool brand messages, do some interesting storytelling, but you got to get them back to your website.
Yeah, that's Michael. I talk about the same thing, right? It's okay to use rented channels, but make sure you're driving them back to a place that you own. Your website, get them on your email list.
Yeah, I'm currently trying to consolidate research on the source of traffic for websites. It's pretty interesting. The sources that I'm getting, there's about 3, and I'm looking for, I might actually use my own clients and mask it, but less than 2% of average corporate website traffic comes from social. And I always talk to my B2B founders, and I'm like, the first hire you made was an intern to manage your Instagram account. Like, you spent 40 grand on a 20-year-old kid to post, memes on Instagram, when you could have spent 40 grand on 2 articles a week with us. Like, that's going to drive. So organic and direct is 80% of average website traffic. Paid is only 6. And it's really interesting. Even in e-commerce, Instagram or social type approaches are only 5%, and paid is only 12%. So even in the most direct consumer sort of, type of company, Social and paid are a significant minority of the traffic. It's all organic.
Yeah. So unless, and this becomes, I think, a little bit more difficult to track, unless that social traffic is converting on the social platform, it's not driving a lot of conversions on the website.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing to me, the only thing that makes sense, if you're selling nutritional supplements, or if you've got a relationship with Kim Kardashian and she's pitching your spandex products or whatever, like if it's not an actual ad, I haven't seen any, and people pulled out like Warby Parker from 2015 example of how they generated business through some campaign on I think it was Snapchat. Like there's like 3 examples of companies that have produced ROI from social media content, and none of them are recent. So again, I don't have any. I think there are reasons to use social platforms for distribution, for credentialing. Just hey, we're a real brand, we have real people, we're fun.
Yeah.
But driving leads and business and revenue and pipeline, absolutely not.
Yeah. So this has been great. I love this conversation. Let's talk about some practical tips to implement in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, again, like I said, just show up, and as you added, I think, perfectly, is consistently. Like, if you're going to do one thing, my prediction for 2023 content marketing was a return to the basics. Just get back to a consistent publishing schedule of keyword-focused question and answer content. If you're not doing that today, you're losing ground to your competition in the industry. So that's a practical tip. Focusing on content on your website over social and paid. It's just getting harder and harder to generate any kind of value or any even traffic from those sources. My favorite tip, I don't know if you've interviewed Andy Crestodina from Orbit Media. Has he been on here?
No.
So he's a good friend of mine. You should have him on, but I have to give him credit for this tip. It's my favorite practical tip. Go to Google Analytics or whatever analytics platform you're on and run a list of your top 10 traffic pages. And then you can go to the goal tracking report or whatever platform you're using and identify your top 10 converting content pages, so article pages, and link them to each other. So in your top traffic pages, in the first paragraph or two, you can make it a text link or make it like a little like bonus. Check out my content marketing template article here. Link those two things together, traffic and conversion, top pages. It's just the simplest way to drive value from the traffic that you're getting and traffic from the conversion pages that you're getting.
Okay, so this brings up another question for me. What are your thoughts on, people call them hub pages, pillar pages, where they're, for those that aren't familiar with the term, page on your website that is geared around typically a very specific topic, and a lot of interlinking between the content there out to other posts on the page. Mm-hmm. When you guys are, from a strategic standpoint, how do you feel about hub pages, pillar pages? Do you use that as part of your planning? What are your thoughts on that?
So we're not an SEO agency. So whenever I have a strong opinion about SEO, I want to caveat it with that. My personal experience and personal opinion is we don't lead with pillar pages. We believe that people want content written by people for people, written by a human. Pillar pages generally feel very Wikipedia-like. What, why, how, when, where, who, 6 examples. Click here to learn more. They're very formulaic.
Yeah.
It's exactly the kind of content, this is where it gets interesting though. It's exactly the kind of content that Google says it's not going to rank as high, but in actuality, they still do. So that's why I have to kind of like caveat it. We have clients who ask us to do pillar pages and we support them with that. But it's not all that we do for anyone. We'll write a 4,000 word pillar page on a, what is kind of, keyword. Short tail keyword. And then we recommend at least 5 to 10 articles that support, trends, tips, lists, more fun, more personal. I don't know if your audience doesn't know, there's a new E in the EAT formula from Google. EAT was expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. And they've added a second E, and it's experience. Experience means, hi, I'm Michael Brenner, and when I worked at SAP, I found this worked. Boom, boom, boom. Here's the article. Pillar pages do not, they just generally formulaically don't, include that kind of experience factor.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think we're right. But the data also says that the pillar pages work. So, we'll support a client that asks us to do it. We don't lead with it in our strategy.
Okay. We cannot finish this conversation without talking about Chat GPT. So, I mean, we just can't. So, because I know that there's a lot of people that are just drooling over this from, thinking I can use AI to automatically write all my articles and everything. The world will be complete bliss. What are your thoughts?
Wow, such a big question. Well, I guess in general, I want to say that the noise it's generated is really interesting.
Yeah.
And there's a marketing influencer who I often disagree with, not publicly, but just privately in my mind. And like on November 15th, he published this article that was like, 5 years ago, I predicted AI would take over my job. 5 years later, and here it turns out I was right. And I just kind of rolled my eyes like, okay, so first of all, you're a know-it-all because 5 years ago you knew exactly what was going to happen. Second of all, ChatGPT did not take your job. You're a marketing consultant. Like I in a webinar I just did 2 weeks ago, I typed ChatGPT, get me some leads. And it said, like, as a generative AI, I can't get leads, but I can tell you, here are 5 tips for companies that you can use to get leads. And the 5 tips were like the most basic things, like create content, go to conferences. So, the noise is interesting.
Yeah.
The overreaction is even more interesting to me. But let me level set on my opinion. So we have writers. One, I'm concerned about any of them lazily using ChatGPT instead of writing an original human generated article.
Yeah.
So we've made it really clear to them. We're testing a couple of tools. They're not there yet. One, for example, Originality AI, we ran a test in 3 different examples of articles written by not ChatGPT, but another AI generated tool. I won't name the tool, but Jasper, Writer, and I forget the third one that we looked at, but it was one written by one of those platforms. It said that 3 of them were 90% likely human generated. So it was wrong. Now it gets 100% AI generated content from ChatGPT. It figures that out most of the time. Google has said that they know what's AI generated content, and it will penalize the site that uses it. So our writers know that we're testing and looking to make sure that they're not using it. But we know Google is not, at least right now, saying that they're not going to rank it. But at the same time, I've told our writers, use it for outlines, use it for research. Use it to help you make your job easier, but you still need to write the article using the EEAT formula. Use expertise and experience and trustworthiness and authority. An AI engine can never do that. So that's my thoughts there. Where I do think, so I don't think it's going to replace writers. I would be scared a little bit if I was a programmer, because I actually think, things that are like don't require human sort of a human voice.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty good. I just read an article about a guy who asked ChatGPT to write him a WordPress plugin, and it did it in less than a minute. And he said it was actually pretty good. So those folks I think should be worried. Where I'm really interested to see where this is going to go. And Google, I think, just announced recently, or today maybe, their integrated chat AI search engine. I'm interested to see how it impacts search.
Yeah.
So I believe helpful content will always win. I believe human generated, first person experience is always going to be helpful. But I'm really interested to see how it impacts Google and their search dominance.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they choose to integrate it in with what they're doing. I also read an article. Are you familiar with Scott Galloway?
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting dude. He wrote an article about tech, and because this is not the first time that we've said tech is going to replace humans. And the article he wrote was really fascinating about, hey, when this has happened in the past, the exact opposite has actually happened. We've actually created more jobs from the tech. Now, they might be slightly different jobs, but there's more jobs being created as a result of the innovation,
Yeah.
which I thought was really, really interesting. So,
Yeah.
Michael,
Well, I kind of refer to it as the paradox of AI. The more AI we use, the more human we need to be. And it's a similar kind of thing. Like there's this sort of, correlation that happens with any innovation like this, where it doesn't do what we think it's going to do. And knee-jerk reactions are usually never right.
Yeah. Michael, this has been a great conversation. I appreciate you taking the time. Any last minute thoughts you want to leave us with today?
No, but Tim, I'll talk to you anytime. I feel like we could talk for hours. So
Yeah.
sorry if I yammered on, but this was fun.
No, it's all good, man. So where can people learn more about you? I've got the link scrolling down here. We'll make sure those are in the show note, but really quickly, website and where on social?
Yeah, marketinginsidergroup.com. Check out our content. You'll see our approach. Subscribe to our newsletter, if nothing else, just to see our nurture series. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And my main channel for communication on social is LinkedIn. And I would ask anybody, if you reach out, mention that you saw the show and Tim, and I'll get it back to you so I can give you some credit.
Awesome. I love it. If you guys have liked this conversation, go connect with Michael. He obviously knows what he's doing, and learn more about how they might be able to help over at marketinginsidergroup.com. Those of you that are watching, listening, thank you for doing so. What we talked about today, content marketing, to me is all about lead gen, lead conversion, which are two of the common revenue roadblocks we help clients remove so they can accelerate growth. If you want to discover which roadblocks are slowing down your growth, jump on over to revenueroadblockscorecard.com. Less than 5 minutes, you'll be able to discover that and start removing your roadblocks so that you can grow. If you want to connect with us, you can always head on over to rialtomarketing.com. Thanks so much, Michael. Appreciate it. Till next time, take care.